On this episode of Mothman and the Bible Belt, Matt Kiser, Zach White, Scott Hinkle, and Ben Keenan of West Virginia rock band Never Zero dish on their new music, how they formulate a set list, and what types of music inspired their sound. The band give their 2 cents on Dave Grohl fathering a child out of wedlock, Linkin Park's new singer Emily Armstrong, and James Addiction's onstage band drama between Ferrell and Dave Navarro. The band also chime in on Cher getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a very frail Franki Valli lip-syncing in concert, and whether or not anyone should care about the Oasis reunion. Coming up next.
Welcome to the Mothman in the Bible Belt podcast with your host, Buck Fantastic.
Girl Scout cookies.
Never Zero is a rock band inspired by 70s, 80s, and 90s rock and alternative music. In 2023, they were nominated for Best West Virginia-based rock act by Born Bred Magazine. Never Zero will be playing the Hinton Railroad Days Festival on October 13th. Join me, your host, Buck Fantastic, for another exciting episode of Mothman of the Bible Belt. It's a eclectic chit-chat of otherworldly origins. Welcome to Mothman of the Bible Belt, Matt, Ben, Scott, and Zach. Never Zero.
How's it going?
How are you guys doing?
We're great. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm good. When did Never Zero form, Matt?
So 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
It was
Yeah.
slow to kind of like get us all in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, weirdly, we started out as a 3-piece with Scott, Ben, and I. Ben had just moved back to town, and he and I sort of connected, and we go way back, are both from the same hometown. And so we, I'd known Scott for a long time. We started jamming, and Scott had said, who would be great to add to this band, and it ended up being Zach, which he was totally right.
But before I was here,
Yeah.
you had a person of notoriety that would be, you got to do a little name drop.
We did it. Oh yeah, we did a gig with our friend Chris Stockwell on Dobro, but actually Chris booked the gig, so it was
You guys were
like he
filling in.
needed a band, really. Yeah.
Were y'all in other little bands before that?
No, we I think at that point, I don't even know that we had a name. It would just it just happened to coincide with Ben and Scott and I jamming and our friend Chris booking a gig and needing a band. So that was our first show, but our first show without Zach. So it took a while before we got Zach in the band after that. But it's always sort of been the same unit. Just we were a little, I don't know.
Well, Matt performs solo, and he's had some projects he's been involved in, and Scott was in Red Audio, and Zach had projects too, Soulshine and the Two Broke Band.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I had not lived in the area for a while. I mean, I'm from here, but I had only recently moved back in around 2020. And so, as Matt had mentioned, we both went to the same high school. He graduated with my younger brother. We played music together when we were younger, and we just reconnected when I moved back and started playing, and playing with Scott, and then Zach came on after that, and we started recording, not long after.
So Scott, where are you guys from in West Virginia?
Yeah, we're all basically from Central West Virginia area. I live just outside Summersville. Matt lives in Summersville. Ben, what's the area you live in? Like that's outside Montgomery,
right?
So
Powelton.
Okay. And then Zach lives in Mount Lookout, which is just outside Summersville. So we're all pretty close into the Summersville area. Ben has the longer trek than any of us. But that's where we're based out of, which is, it's a nice area.
I bet y'all have all kinds of good times being by that Summersville Lake.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
And the New River Gorge near National Park.
Zach, you wrote Happily Evermore. It sounds a little bit like old school Stone Temple Pilots meets Incubus.
That's
What
so
inspired it?
Honestly, it's just funny you said that. My brother mentioned Stone Temple Pilots when he heard it too. And I think it's cool that you just said that. I take that as a compliment. I don't really recall if there was any big inspiration beyond, I came up with a riff, and then the lyrics themselves were slowly pieced together. There's a little bit of, political whatever, life kind of happens, and what you get to hear in the media and all that just kind of starts trickling into your subconscious. So I don't think I really tied it to anything specifically, but I did kind of feel a little bit of cynicism, and it just kind of seemed like the song came about, alongside maybe what we're experiencing right now, like with elections and uncertainty and chaos and all that. So
On Argos, is it Matt singing this?
Yes.
Yeah. On Argos, Matt, you sing Take Me Home to the Ocean, Sail Away the Summer Days.
Take me home to the ocean. Sail away, yeah, the summer days. Take me back where times were good. Argos out there, standing where we stood.
Did Myrtle Beach inspire this song?
No, actually, that's I was thinking of the Outer Banks of North Carolina, but I really, at the end of the day, like, when you visit somewhere, or you've sort of frequented a place, whether it's like, far away or close or whatever, I don't know. I think, like, as you're reminded of like these places you've been, I can sort of judge like the passing of time, but like when I was somewhere or where I was during a certain time. So like, just imagining, oh, I was here when I was 30, or I did this at 25 or whatever, and going back to those places. That one just sort of happened to be about the ocean, or about that area, sort of what inspired that. But I think it could be about anywhere,
I like it. It's really relaxing.
yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pressurization's a bitch when it gets out of unscratchable edge. You jack shout, it's not fair, and nobody's there. He reminds me of someone I once knew, someone I tried hard not to be. It's a losing cause. We must first go through. If there's a light he's never seen, let him see. It's only fair.
So, Zach, who is Hear Jack Shout About? Who is this guy you try not to be?
I don't know if it was, the idea was supposed to be the epitome of somebody being trapped by their indulgences, and I think good things and bad things can become indulgences, and one thing was rage itself, maybe, and so it might be a little bit of my own experience, but I don't think that I had I actually thought of my brother a lot, but I don't think that it actually was my brother or anybody in particular. It was just kind of, it worked out as Jack in the Box being kind of trapped and being let out every once in a while and then shoved back in to that box, whether he wants to be or not. So,
Scott, is there a full-length Never Zero album in the cards?
It's possible. We've talked about it, maybe even doing a compilation of our EP and our singles and stuff and releasing that way. But if not, we may do a full-length album at some point, or we may just keep doing EPs. I'm not really sure. We just kind of let it roll as it goes. So it's fun. We just do it. As we're doing it, we figure out how we want to do it, and that EP came together real quick, and we had a handful of other songs that we just decided to do an EP instead of a full album. So
yeah,
we still have 3 other completed songs to finish to record.
Yeah,
so we've got 3 more songs we'd like to finish.
Yeah.
So I mean, we may do a whole album release of just all the songs on one album, or we may wait and write more songs, or we may continue to do EPs and singles. I'm not really sure. We just kind of let it roll.
This is something that we've talked about internally and have weighed the pros and cons over time. So being a new band, we wanted to try to set over 2024. We wanted to try to release a set of songs to keep a steady release of content and material that would keep people's attention on a relatively new band. And so but we always kind of debated back and forth between us that is this something that and it did, I think, it has had benefits, but one thing that we've lacked is really a coherent concept behind all of the individual things that we've released over 2024. And that's something that we want to do in 2025, is have a little bit more of a connection between the things that we put out, something maybe that would tease a larger project that we release later in the year.
In this current landscape of digital music and releases and stuff like that, like it's kind of hard to release a full album where people will actually listen to it. Like, we're the age group that we love albums and likes to listen to the whole thing, but a lot of times the listener nowadays either doesn't have time or the attention span to focus on an entire album. So
yeah,
we elected early to do EPs and singles and hopefully do an album at some point.
Ben, do you all have any particular rituals y'all do before a show?
I don't know of any particular anything that we do. I think we're good at preparation. I think we're all good at contributing to making sure that we that no one person is responsible for preparing for a show, making sure we're all there on time and helping put together the equipment and kind of make sure that we're all kind of part of the process. I think is good. As far as any particular ritual that we go, no, I don't think so.
not yet.
So you don't like sort of line of Coke or anything? Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We might consider it now that you've mentioned it, but no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
So we're an indie band. So we don't,
Right.
yeah, we don't have Coke money.
Y'all can snort aspirin or Tylenol.
Right. But we are setting up a Patreon for that. If you wanna, so
How do you all determine what songs go into a set list before a show?
It depends on
The type of show.
the type of show. I think Matt's really good at coming up with a good set list. I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, Matt has a really good gauge for that stuff, so he's good at that.
well, thanks,
You're welcome.
guys. I don't know. I just try to think of the occasion or what. I mean, they're truthfully, like, they're nice to say so, but I mean, we're always, over text, like, is everybody cool with this or whatever? Like, I may come up with the set list, but everybody contributes in the way that, like, whether or not they're cool with what I came up with, or we'll substitute something. But it makes it easy because we don't, what do we have, like 10 songs out, 11 songs, something like that, originals wise. So we're able to, in most kind of situations, unless we're playing like a traditional for around here kind of like 3-hour gig or something, if we're playing somewhere or some sort of event where we're allowed to, play our songs, we don't have a whole lot to choose from. So it's sort of, you take the vibe of where you're going and sort of try to adhere to that.
And you expect the audience to want, a certain amount of either covers and what type of covers too, if they're going to be a little bit on the more maybe eclectic side versus like the cliche, like stuff you'd hear on the radio. And then you try to throw in a healthy amount of what's going to be original without getting people a little bit too bored. You don't know if they're going to be into it or not, and you want to keep their attention. So
You all describe your sound as being 70s, 80s, 90s with a little alt rock thrown in. What bands does Never Zero model themselves after? Zach.
Well, if I had to say, like, I know that coming into this band has broadened. Like, I get to see what everybody is really into, and just because what we listen to, it's tough to say that that's exactly what we're emulating as an original band. But I know that there's tons of prog rock that can show up versus alternative rock, like going to Radiohead versus a Genesis, and there could be a sort of jazzy influence here. It's tough to say because all the stuff that we've done so far has really been spur of the moment, feeling if it's original content. We almost sometimes question, is this really for the band, or is this just something that we like to play and we don't even know if we're gonna adopt it as an original song or not. So we're still working on what is our sound, even though we have a lot of what we can call our own songs. It seems all over the map. So I don't know if anybody else wants to throw in their own 2 cents to that, but
I mean, I would say that we admire a lot of music.
Yeah.
I don't think we're out to model anything. Obviously I mean, you'd mentioned some bands songs that we've put out have reminded you of, and we've certainly heard that a couple of times.
Yeah, like we can't help.
Yeah, and that's great. I don't think we're out to say this song sounds like this or this song sounds like that, but you can hear the influences in the songs that we do release. And like Zach had mentioned Radiohead. I mean, but I think it is all over the map. I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. I think we're all Pink Floyd fans. We could list a million things of a million bands that we love, and some of them come in at different times, and as we continue to write new music, I think you'll hear other things.
You all have been compared to Drive-By Truckers, My Morning Jacket, Candlebox, Collective Soul, Soundgarden, and Widespread Panic. That's a lot of damn bands.
Yeah.
And those are
yeah.
like, just to mention those
We owe
is
them some
like
money.
a really.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel flattered. And,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
It's always
I
cool to
love
hear that.
love those bands. So
Where did all that come from?
Exactly.
Is that one dude?
I was looking at all the articles that y'all had on
Okay.
y'all's website.
Oh,
These reviews of your songs.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
You have all these journalists comparing you to all these different music acts. It's like, wow.
it's super cool, but it's sort of this crossroads between like you can't help when you were born or what you grew up around, or so like there are those things that like I always consider myself really lucky to have, and I think we all did, like grew up in a time where like I'm 44, so like when my formative years were like grunge and alternative rock were sort of like hitting the mainstream kind of, and the cool thing about that music was that they were really reverent towards stuff that came before them. Like if you listen to a Pearl Jam song, they would say, well, if you like our band, you should check out X, Y, and Z, so they were really accepting and encouraging of like checking out other music, alternative music. And they're those sort of subconscious influences, I think, to everything we do, but at the same time, like without sounding too pretentious, hopefully, like the idea of like trying to move stuff forward and just write stuff that's interesting to us, like we're afforded that opportunity and that influence and the imperative to do that because of the music that we listen to, whether it's like contemporary, like weird jazz or whatever, or alternative rock, where like it encompasses so many, like you can listen to Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. or whatever, and then at the same time like listen to those bands that you mentioned a second ago, and it all sort of falls under that umbrella. So I don't feel like we don't have the tropes of like the generation that came before us, where it's like rock is this and jazz is this and country is this. Like we were lucky enough to grow up in sort of this blended area before it became so homogenized to where like it all sounds the same. Like, so it's cool to be able to draw from all those influences, I guess, and like just like being naturally encouraged by the scene that we all grew up in to be able to do that kind of stuff.
What's your all's thoughts on Foo Fighters lead singer Dave Grohl coming clean about fathering a child out of wedlock?
I think it's nobody's business but his and his family's. I don't think it needs to be in the. I don't know. I hate stuff like that because I mean.
Do you think he was blackmailed?
Oh, who knows?
I
don't know.
Maybe.
I just hate that stuff like where it's just I don't know. They're trying to get headlines and trying to get clicks and all that stuff. And
I didn't read into it enough to know.
I just hate whenever people get into other people's personal business like that, no matter what it is. So
yeah.
I'm only bummed about it because I DM'd him like 2 weeks ago and he never.
Oh.
So
maybe
like,
he was busy.
Yeah, available if you're ready, Dave.
I could care less. He's not the first rock and roll star. He's not the first politician. He's not the first anybody.
Right.
A big name to go out and knock up some woman that ain't his wife's.
You're putting an idol. Yeah, you're idolizing somebody as if they're like perfect. And does he have an obligation to do anything? I mean, would he call it a mistake? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you're talking about subjects like that, in all seriousness, I didn't DM him 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you didn't?
It was more like 2 months ago. No, I mean, really, like, and I don't think it's certainly not for me. I don't want to speak for everybody in the band, but I would assume so. It's not for us to be able to morally decide not even what he did, but whether or not you can separate the art from the artist. That's not our business. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I struggle with that. I think a lot of people do nowadays, is like to whether or not I can like, the someone's music, even though they did horrible shit. Like, I'm sorry, can you curse on the? Can you curse?
Say whatever you want.
Sorry, I still shouldn't curse, but whether or not they did something, like, Led Zeppelin probably did a couple ladies wrong, backstage in the 70s. But like, if you know what I mean? So I don't, and I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't judge that. Yeah.
He wasn't thinking with his head or his guitar.
Yeah. You're probably right.
You're only on the road.
But yeah, I mean, that's not, morally, I don't know that. I don't think that's something that any of us would do. Yeah, but at the same time, like, I like his music, so I don't. You know what I mean? It's not. It
hasn't affected our like interest in his music one bit. I don't think. So.
Yeah, I mean, but it's okay if it does to other people. Yeah, like it's a strange one.
So, like, when you are playing shows to keep down on the children out of wedlock situation, do y'all like bring a giant box of condoms and spermicide vat?
No, we just bring Scott.
Yep.
And that normally just keeps all the women away.
Because they all go for him. No, they all go for him.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, Scott's the only single guy in the band, so he's the only one that has to worry about that.
It's like, all right, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
What's y'all's favorite venue to play in the state, Ben?
I've loved it. I mean, Weather Ground Brewery has had us back time and time again, and they've always been really kind to us, and I have to say that we've appreciated them.
And a lot of it has to do with the crowd and people associated with whatever they have going on. So the brewery itself has a lot of people, that smart people in a network of musicians that I've always been impressed. And it's almost daunting to like be a part of it, because then you get to meet all these talented people. It's a great experience.
We've participated in the West Virginia Pub Fest 2 years in a row, and we always get to meet great bands and listen. And so it's been a great opportunity since we've participated, and that was at Weatherground Brewery. So
Tons of cool, smart people over there, and yet they still have us back.
Exactly.
So I don't know. We've got them fooled.
And yeah, it's a great place for food and drinks.
Okay, back to the news. Ferrell got into a physical altercation with Dave Navarro, Boston, a day ago at a Jane's Addiction tour stop. It escalated to the point security broke up the two and the show ended. Has this ever happened to you all on stage? You all ever got into a big
Scott.
old fight?
Came really
Yeah,
close.
not in this band. No, yeah.
no, not
But yeah, we can't legally discuss any of the other stuff.
Honestly, I would describe this band as the least dramatic of experiences, and I say that in such a complimenting way, because we like to talk things out and get our, like, we respect each other's feelings. So far so good, you know. There's always room for devolving into.
I mean, there are members of this band that grew up together, and so you know that I'm sure.
The
And
brotherly love.
the things that have been alluded to in the laughter here, I haven't been privy to, but I know I've been a part of. At least I think Matt and I were at a show where.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, there was like a whole gang war or something. What was
no?
that?
Scott and I have never gotten into a fist fight, but
Yet.
but no, Ben and I were at a gig in Nitro.
How long?
This
ago?
was, I mean, seriously, this
the
was
90s.
yeah, the 90s.
mid-90s.
I was a
think.
child. I was like 14 years old, and we were loading out of the gig, and we got jumped, and this guy, like, he put his arm on my shoulder, and I thought he was going to say, like, "Oh, hey, good gig," and I looked up at him, and he grabbed me and, like, kneed me in the face. But long story short, yeah, so we were we were physically accosted at that gig.
I can't imagine that ever happened.
But no, it's on stage, no.
No drama amongst us.
Yeah, I think it was Scott's cousin, actually.
Here's another biggie. Linkin Park recently replaced dead singer Chester Bennington with a new singer, Emily Armstrong. Bennington's son, Jamie, wasn't too happy about it due to her past support for Danny Masterson during his rape trial. What's your all's take on it?
Scott?
Honestly, again, I'm just like, who cares? I just hate people buying into all this drama stuff, and is all that true? Is half of it lost in translation? Who knows? We may never know. And if the band decides they want to move on with another singer, like, it happens. Like, they can't bring back someone who's dead. Stone Temple Pilots did it, and that guy's pretty great.
I think he's I'm
like,
impressed.
it is what it is, and if the fans don't like it, I guess that kind of sucks for them, because they'll miss out. But
should Linkin Park have changed their name to, like, Lincoln Heights, Lincoln Boulevard?
I've heard that argument. I've heard that argument about how it's not the same band, and
I was never really a fan of theirs. But wasn't Chester the last guy to join that band?
Beats the hell out of me. I only like 4 of their songs, but
yeah. See,
it's a good conversation to have of how is the band defined, because a lot of time, and there might be an argument saying, like, if the singer is what put the band together and is the, like, sort of brain, like, I don't know. But if it comes down to it, like, you could always have that support for the band is more than just one person.
Plus, there are these bands.
Elvis died, his band didn't keep touring.
Yeah.
Didn't keep
And that's a good example.
I got to say,
Really
some of these older bands, it's like one original member, or maybe even not the original member, that still carries on the name of the band as a brand. And at some point, it's keeping a brand alive, and then You
That's
gotta ask yourself as a
line.
fan of the band, as a fan of like the music, do you want to see like what's the best representation of that, like the current representation of the brand,
Right, yeah.
or do you feel like it after all the members that are no longer with the band, is it even worth going?
Yeah.
So
Was it like Pink Floyd versus like when they separated? You know,
I mean,
David
you go see a
Gilmour
Roger Waters show
yeah,
of like
Roger
Pink Floyd
Waters
songs,
and-
or you know,
But with every new major lineup change with Jefferson Airplane, they changed their name
Mhm.
2
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
right?
and they were still successful.
True.
It's obviously I think the idea that you're talking about is the complication of her support of whoever, that's ultimately it's not, I don't think, for us or anybody else to say. I mean, we all have our personal opinion about each situation, like whether it concerns that band or Pink Floyd or whoever. So like the idea of like mandates for someone not being able to like a band, or you have to like a band, or you can't like them anymore, that like I don't think that any of us want to be a part of those kind of discussions, just because it's such a personal thing. Like my opinion of her support of whoever could differ from, and most certainly would differ probably from literally anybody else. So I'd like,
I mean, she recently recanted some of that. I mean, she recently said something to the tune of she was sorry over the Danny Masterson thing.
right on.
So it's like,
I mean,
I would be more concerned of like, does she sound? How does she sound? First, like if I even care about Linkin Park in the first place, then I would be wondering, how well does she jive with whatever songs and stuff they're doing, and if it still sounds like a Linkin Park song in the, like even if it's like a 2.0 version of their sound, I would judge it on its face value of my initial reaction to the music. I don't really like to think too much of the I know it's a bunch of human beings with flaws and sometimes they might be messed up and all that, but I like to first focus on the music and just say like, do I like it or do I not like it? And then I can make judgment.
Oasis is reuniting after 15 years.
For about 10
Should
minutes.
anyone care?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Are you going to see them on tour?
I heard that
No.
I've actually heard I heard rumor that they're going to write a new song that actually has 5 chords in it.
Oh, way.
Wow.
Yeah.
we
Ask Scott about the songs that he's written, by the way, up to this point.
I guess.
All right, guys, break it up.
What bands would you all like to see bury the hatchet, sober up, and reunite?
Oh man, who's
wow.
broken up? I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I personally, just because you brought it up, like, I'm stoked about the Oasis reunion.
Yeah.
But like, that was a band that was pretty formative to me. Like after that first wave of like grunge, for lack of a better word, and like alternative music, like I'm a huge Beatles fan, and you can make an argument as to whether or not they sort of,
They
were
look at
honoring the Beatles stuff, or they were ripping off the Beatles stuff, like whatever. But I mean, I think there's something to be said about that type of songwriting, of like simplicity and melody and emotion, like over virtuosity. I don't mean that as a slight. Like I think Noel Gallagher would probably say the same thing, that he's not an amazing musician. I mean, he would definitely say that he was an amazing songwriter, but no, I mean, I don't know. I'm stoked about that, but I also think too, and I mean, who cares about my opinion, obviously, at the end of the day, but I mean, like, their mom is maybe still alive, and like they've hated each other for 15 years. So it's cool that 2 brothers are friends again. It's just a bonus
They're
that
finally playing nice.
we get to see them make
money.
music again. Yeah.
How old is too old to be a rock star? The Stones are still rocking into their 80s.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all probably too old for it. That's what I say when nobody likes our band. Like, oh, we're just too old to be rock stars.
I don't know. I've seen like some bands that are like definitely should hang it up, and then I've seen some artists that still do a great job in their 80s. So I think it depends on where they are physically and mentally.
What did you all think about the 60s pop star who's now in his early 90s, Franki Valli, very poorly lip syncing all those old Franki Valli and the Four Seasons songs live?
I mean,
I mean, obviously that's bad. I mean, if he can't,
he looks frail as hell.
yeah.
Like there are going to be examples of bad ideas, but
Yeah.
I think that I like Men said, you really do have to go for case by case and what kind of music, because a lot of music will be there's some genres or bands themselves are based on just like the whole idea of their music is an energy that they might not be able to really recreate at a certain age. Like if they're thrashing and headbanging and that's the gist of it. It's not going to go over well once they can't even move, the muscles.
Well, but like I think, really like at the end of the day, like bad is relative, so if the people that went to the Franki Valli concert had a good time, like good for them. You know what I mean? Like,
I saw him at the Clay Center. I think it was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
He and his new version of the Four Seasons, they put on a great show. I hope it was live because I spent a pretty damn good penny.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you make a good argument too that like it's a two-way street, the performer and the audience. That you spent your hard-earned money on a show that you wanted to see, and if it feels fake to you,
sure,
whether he was lip syncing or not, whatever, like that's a valid point, but yeah, like the show, I don't know.
Current artists that are in their 20s that are doing that.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
The line drawn between what is genuine performance versus a recreated like fake product.
Where do backing tracks and
yes, like
all that stuff, where does that fall in? I've seen so many.
Yeah, Madonna, she's like in her early to mid 60s. She was lip syncing the bulk of her damn tour that she just did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, people are paying $200 some to see that. I mean, really?
Punching a name.
It wasn't. I mean, she was called out like in her 30s for that. Like, and I think her response was
she wasn't doing it as much, but like the bulk of her show, this show that she just did, that celebration tour.
Yeah.
The bulk of it was lip syncing. You could hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it was a great show nonetheless, but still, when people are spending $200 when they can go see a Madonna impersonator for $10, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, true.
What's your all's thoughts on Cher getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame after having put out her first solo record 59 years ago?
Long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean this is, we don't talk about this stuff, so this is a good group therapy kind of thing for us.
Is it ageism?
Yeah, well, like I don't know myself personally, like I can only speak for myself. Like I think we put way too much, like we give way too much credence to awarding art,
right?
By this, this body that like we have no influence or any kind of say in, so like we get like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame means something because we say it means something. I think she's had a distinguished career like a lot of people of her age, and but then like what's the metric for defining that? Like how, I'm really upset that Radiohead didn't make it on their first year of eligibility, but like does that change my relationship to that band? Like no, not at all. Like I still think they're amazing. So like I think you bring up a good point. Truly, I think it's over. Like you can look at her career and be like, look at all these accomplishments she's had. But again, like the only the only power the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has is the power that we give it. So like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like if she, I don't think, hopefully she doesn't care one way or the other whether she made it, because she made decisions in her career or about her career that were important to her and had success in spite of what other people said about her. Just, you know, like, why are the replacements not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like, that blows my mind.
Because
Like,
they didn't write If You Could Turn Back Time.
yeah, right.
Well,
That's also true.
wait.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's
I love that song.
as far as the award goes, like, what's rock and roll? I mean, you don't want to be, you don't want to be a
Purist.
you know, a purist and so narrowly like focused on, you know, what you think rock and
She
roll.
did it all. I mean, she did a little bit of everything in the under the umbrella of rock and roll.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Was
From the
that
60s to the present.
the first auto-tuned on purpose? Like, wasn't that
Gypsy
As
Tramps and
like
Thieves,
an
yeah.
art form. You know, I you know, I'm not questioning whether she should have, like, you know, when she should have or if she should have, but like it definitely seems at times arbitrary in the choices. So
what new music are you all listening to at the moment?
Dan?
gosh.
What new music?
Oh, new music.
I like Waxahachie's new album.
Yes.
I still need you.
It's great.
Let me
Not right now.
So it's not necessarily new, but like a newer band. Like, I started listening to Pine Grove again today. Like
Pine Grove
is
is,
amazing.
is definitely on
Yeah,
like
you
I
guys
like-
put them on my radar.
what
I
last
mean-
what when did 11/11 come out? Was it last year or 2022?
22.
Okay,
Yeah. But
okay.
they put out a live record in 23, I think. It's cliche, probably based on all the stuff that we've talked about, like on our influences, whatever. But like, I think the new Pearl Jam record is incredible.
Yeah, I like it.
I think it's just insane how they made such a good record at this point in their career.
Very different sounding.
Yeah. Everything Bill Frisell does is great, and he put out a record this year.
We have a playlist that we put out every month.
We-
And like I'll just read you like some of the things that we put on this playlist. So stuff from Blonde Shell, if you know her. Corduroy Brown's new song "Doing My Best" is great. Dowcord, they're a local band and they're good. You know, The Smile,
Yeah.
like we've you know, we love The Smile.
The new Crowded House is really good.
Yeah. Remy Wolf, there's some stuff from Remy Wolf and she's pretty new.
There's a band out of Western Virginia area, not West Virginia, but the Western Virginia area called 49 Winchester. They put out really good stuff. They're a country rock type band.
Cool.
They're really good dudes. I've had the pleasure of running sound for them for a couple gigs early in their career, and they're really skyrocketing. They're really good.
The last Alabaster Boxer record was
I was
really
gonna
good.
mention that.
true.
yes.
True.
Yeah, Scott doesn't play on
Scott,
that. That's okay.
Scott's a member of
Scott's in
Alabaster
their band,
Boxer.
too.
We gotta
But
mention
I
that.
did not play on the record.
The like McGee,
Ginger
you know,
Wicks.
MK.G.
Matt Deal.
The new
Matt Deal's
Deal
stuff
is great.
is awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
Matt
Yeah,
Deal, he's a
Drunk at the
local guy.
Beach is a great song.
Yeah,
he's from-
and
he's from
we just got to
Bluefield.
see them live over like just last month, and
So good.
they blew us away. Sungazer has
That's all.
Noah for
That's all I
Yanya.
got to say
I
about
like Noah for Yanya.
So who wants to do 5 questions?
Matt.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Matt, here we go.
I've had enough to drink. I'm ready.
Okay. Third Eye Blind or Fastball?
Third Eye Blind.
Boo.
Sugar Ray or Everclear?
Neither.
Nintendo or Sega?
Nintendo.
Collective Soul or the Dandy Warhols?
Dandy Warhols.
Salute Your Shorts or Welcome Freshmen?
Oh, God, salute your shorts.
Never Zero Music is available to purchase on iTunes and Amazon Music. You can stream their music on YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify. For upcoming Never Zero shows, check out www.neverzerobandwv.com. I want to thank my special guests, Matt, Zach, Scott, and Ben of Never Zero. May your futures be so bright, you gotta wear shades. For Mothman and the Bible Belt podcast outlet updates, guest bios, episode breakdowns, and links to social media, please check us out on the web at www.mothmaninthebiblebelt.com. Thanks for listening.
It's been crazy.